The rain hammered against the windows, mirroring the storm raging inside me. For years, I'd played the role of the perfect wife, the picture of domestic bliss. But behind the carefully curated smiles and the meticulously planned dinners, a quiet desperation had taken root. My husband, Mark, wasn't a bad man. He was successful, hardworking, and provided a comfortable life. But somewhere along the line, we'd drifted apart, our connection reduced to polite exchanges and perfunctory intimacy. The spark, the passion, the shared laughter, it had all faded, leaving behind a hollow echo of what we once were. Then there was Liam, Mark's best friend. He'd been a constant presence in our lives, a fixture at our gatherings, a confidant to both of us. But lately, something had shifted. The way he looked at me, the lingering touches, the shared glances that held a weight of unspoken words, it was all different. It started subtly, a feeling, an awareness that crackled in the air between us. One evening, Mark was away on a business trip, and Liam stopped by, ostensibly to check on me. We sat in the living room, the silence punctuated by the soft crackle of the fireplace. We talked about everything and nothing, about Mark's work, about my frustrations, about the emptiness that seemed to permeate my life. I found myself confiding in him, sharing the vulnerabilities I'd kept hidden for so long. He listened with an intensity that made me feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. Then, he said something that changed everything. "You deserve more, Sarah," he said, his voice low and husky. "You deserve to be happy." His words hung in the air, charged with an unspoken meaning. I looked at him, and in that moment, I saw him not as Mark's best friend, but as a man who saw me, who desired me. The tension between us was palpable, a live wire crackling with unspoken desires. We were both adults, and we both knew that this was wrong. But the pull, the magnetic force that drew us together, was too strong to resist. Later that night, after a bottle of wine had loosened our inhibitions, it happened. It was a blur of heated kisses, trembling hands, and desperate whispers. The guilt was immediate, a sharp, searing pain that cut through the haze of desire. But it was also mixed with a strange sense of exhilaration, a feeling of being alive, of finally breaking free from the suffocating confines of my marriage. The next morning, I woke up with a knot of dread in my stomach. The reality of what I'd done crashed down on me, the weight of my betrayal heavy and suffocating. I looked at Liam, his face etched with a mixture of desire and guilt, and I knew that I'd crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. I was in too deep. If you are enjoying this story, and want to hear more of my mature stories, please like and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me, and allows me to create more of these stories. I have many more stories that will touch on the topics of love, lust, betrayal, and many other adult themes. I knew that this was just the beginning, a single thread in a tangled web of deceit and desire. I knew that I was playing with fire, and that I was destined to get burned. But the allure of the forbidden, the thrill of the illicit, was too strong to resist. The days that followed were a blur of guilt, fear, and a strange, intoxicating thrill. The affair with Liam became a secret world, a hidden oasis in the arid landscape of my marriage. We stole moments whenever we could, a hurried lunch, a whispered conversation in a crowded room, a stolen night in a hotel room far from prying eyes. Each encounter was a tightrope walk, a delicate balance between the forbidden pleasure and the constant fear of discovery. But the more time I spent with Liam, the more I realized that this was more than just a physical affair. We connected on a deeper level, sharing our fears, our dreams, our vulnerabilities. He saw me, the real me, the woman I'd hidden beneath the facade of the perfect wife. And I saw him, not just as Mark's best friend, but as a man of depth, compassion, and a surprising vulnerability. The guilt, however, was a constant companion. It gnawed at me, a persistent ache in the pit of my stomach. I found myself watching Mark, searching his face for any sign of suspicion, any hint that he knew about my betrayal. But he seemed oblivious, lost in his own world of work and routine. One evening, as we were having dinner with friends, I noticed a change in Mark. He was quieter than usual, his eyes distant, his smile strained. I felt a knot of fear tighten in my chest. Was he starting to suspect something? Had Liam said something? The question swirled in my mind, fueling my anxiety. Later that night, as we lay in bed, I couldn't take it anymore. I confessed. The words tumbled out of me, a torrent of guilt, fear, and regret. I told him about Liam, about the affair, about the emptiness I'd felt in our marriage. Mark listened in stunned silence, his face a mask of disbelief and hurt. When I finished, he didn't explode in anger as I'd expected. Instead, he just looked at me, his eyes filled with a profound sadness. "How could you?" he finally whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "How could you do this to me, to us?" I had no answers, no excuses. I'd betrayed his trust, shattered our marriage, and broken his heart. There was nothing I could say to make it right. The weeks that followed were agonizing. We tried to salvage our marriage, to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives. But the damage was too deep, the wound too raw. The trust was gone, replaced by suspicion and resentment. In the end, we decided to separate. The divorce was messy, painful, and filled with recriminations. But it was also a liberation, a chance to start over, to rebuild my life. Liam and I stayed together, our relationship forged in the crucible of betrayal and guilt. We knew that we had hurt people, that we had caused pain. But we also knew that we had found something real, something worth fighting for. Our happiness, however, was tinged with a bittersweetness. We had built our love on the ruins of another, and the shadow of our past would always be there, a reminder of the price we had paid for our happiness.